Hey everyone, it's Jessica here for another layout for the Shimmerz design team. You can use my name Jessica in the notes of your order to earn a free gift with your order. And they're always really good gifts too. So I am prepping some textured white cardstock with some clear gesso, and then I'm going to be using some various colors to match this paper from the Flower Child collection by Jen Hadfield. So I'm just watering down my paper. This gesso here is dry at this point. I just set it aside to dry and then came back to it. It's dry. I'm just spritzing some water on here. My daughter is actually with me today. She's 2. She's creating alongside me. So I will show you her creation. She's going to be dipping her little brush into all of my little paints here as we go. And I'm using a bunch of different colors to match that paper that I showed you earlier. This one here, that orange one, is Here I Am and Shimmerz. Most of these are Shimmerz. The one, pinkish one there at the bottom right is called Sunkissed. It's an Inklingz, I believe, not a Shimmerz. So you do have to activate that one with water. The rest of these, the grayish blue one at the top left there is called When Skies Are Gray, I believe. And then the other really blue one at the top right is Pull Me Close. Those are both Shimmerz products. And you see my daughter still dipping her little brush in there. She's making her little creation beside me and copying everything that mommy does, which is super adorable, except she's mixing my paints. So I have to keep kind of grabbing and redirecting her to the right place there. I am going to add some marbling effect here by grabbing some white acrylic paint and watering it down a little bit with some water and my paintbrush and just flicking that on to create some marbled splatters. I'm doing this while the paints are still wet. That way it creates that marbled effect and just kind of breaks up the color a little bit. If I did that while it was dry, it would create those really super splattery, sharp splatters that you see that really stand out. But I just wanted a marbled effect just to kind of blend those colors a little bit more. The water added to my paper also helps those colors blend, and the gesso added to my paper before I started helps not warp your paper too much, and it just creates a nice base so that those colors are able to blend together. Otherwise, the paper itself would just kind of soak up these paints. So I'm pretty much done with that mixed media portion. I'm going to actually cover most of this up, but I just wanted some of it to kind of peek out and around my photos and different elements that I'm going to add. I've grabbed this border strip by Lawn Fawn. It's a die for a Big Shot machine. As you can see, my Big Shot, there's my daughter's creation. Did you see it? It would have been really, really pretty. And I probably actually would have used that for a page had she not drew on it with red crayon, because it's a little bit weird and not my color scheme with the red, but she loved creating it. So I used the Lawn Fawn fringe scallop die to cut a whole bunch out of that paper that I showed you earlier. That way I had all those beautiful colors running across that fringe die set, and I'm going to use that as an accent underneath my photos. And you see my daughter's playing with a couple little acrylic pieces from Bramble Fox there, and my tape gun, which I usually take from her pretty quickly because she tends to rip the tape runner and then I have to fix it and it's just kind of a mess. So I am going to back my photos with some white cardstock first. I think this was actually just a scrap of textured white cardstock that I had. And then I'm also backing it with a layer of tissue paper, which is something that I love to do. It just makes it look really cute around photos. And then I'm just using scraps of paper from this collection that I have and just kind of utilizing what I have on hand and recycling just a bit. So that's something that I really like to do, is just use all my scraps, and whatever which way they fit is how they kind of end up. And then I just rough the edges up with my fingernails or an edge distresser, kind of whatever I'm in the mood for. And I'm just adding a couple different layers with some of the patterns here. Again, these are all just scraps that I have laying inside my collection here. I usually keep my collections in iris cases and keep them in order and together with the big 12 by 12 clear Ziploc bags, the big ones that you get like with product orders in the mail. I keep those on stock, and I keep all of my collections together stored in those iris cases, and it's really working out well for me. So this mixed media is pretty much dry. I'm just going to dab up the excess with that paper towel and start running my little scallops across my page and layering them. So I just want the colors to just be kind of every which way, and I'm just lining them up, giving it like a nice little mermaid effect at the bottom. These are 2 photos of myself and my baby girl when we were out and about. We were at this farmer's market type show thing where they had a lot of really nice events for the kids and things for them to do and play with. So it was really fun, and we snapped a couple photos along the way there. So we were just layering up these little scallops here at this point, and I am just gluing them down with some Nuvo glue. You want to make sure that you apply a good bit of that and give it a nice press, because sometimes adhesives don't like to stick to mixed media. So I like to use this Nuvo glue to adhere anything down to that. My tape runner does work okay, and I do use that typically on my photos, but a lot of times I'll reach for my Thermoweb easy tear tape, because it just has a really nice hold. It's super strong, so it's a little bit better whenever you're adhering larger items like that to mixed media. So I'm just layering these up, finishing this last little bit here at the bottom. My little helper here is grabbing all of the things off my desk, and there she is telling me where to put my photos. She's so bossy, you know? And I am grabbing a stencil now at this point. I think that was a Simple Story stencil. I like that it has like little retro flowers that just go perfectly with this collection. So I'm just using some Distress Oxides here. I have Speckled Egg and Fossilized Amber. So I'm just going to use those 2 colors to just add a few little flowers. I didn't want a ton of them on here. I just wanted to add a little bit of interest on top of the mixed media in kind of the same color scheme. And then here I'm just roughing up all of these edges, pulling these scallops up. I did end up running this through my hot laminating machine to just flatten it all out. So I'm just peeling up all of these scallops again because they all got stuck down really good. So I'm just fluffing up all of these edges, giving them some dimension there. And then I've got this little tab here that I've pulled out from my 49 and Market terracotta collection. I have a lot of that collection that I haven't used a whole lot of. So I'm grabbing these leaves and that little tab for the top of my photo from that collection. And then what I did here is I have some Echo Park flower dies that I just got not too long ago. I am pulling in a whole bunch of those that I cut out just from various papers in this collection. I used pretty much all the same papers that I had used to cut my scallops and map my photos with. So I'm still using the scraps that I had, and I just finished them out by just die cutting a bunch of those flowers. And I have 2 different die sets. They're both by Echo Park, and they're both little flowers like that, and they kind of look like little retro flowers. So I thought that they would just match perfectly with this layout and this little color scheme and the feel of this layout, because it's kind of like a boho retro layout. And she's got that big boho kind of bow on her head, so it just all kind of ties together nicely. I'm just going to stagger these flowers on this layout. I'm going to fluff up the edges there, as you see. I'm going to add some middles in some of these. Some of them I'm going to leave alone. These die sets do come with the middles of the flowers if you want to add them. I find it's easiest to use tweezers and add your glue directly onto the flower rather than trying to add it onto the little dot and then stick your middle onto the flower directly, if that makes sense. I've got these little foam ones as well from this Flower Child collection. I'm going to add a few of those on here and just kind of stagger them around the layout as well. I fast forwarded that part a bit so that you didn't have to suffer through watching me stick all those down and adding a cluster at the top. And then someone in a previous video wanted to see how I twiddle thread in slow motion, so I have slowed this part down to kind of show you. I just pull apart or pull a big piece of it, and then I just kind of drop it into my hand, kind of twirling it around in a circle as I drop it down, if that makes any sense at all. And then I just kind of scrunch it together. It's really, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I just kind of bundle it up and then I shove it behind something. So that's kind of how I do that, and in the gist of it anyways. So I add some Nuvo glue here behind this one, but typically when I'm adding thread, I'm usually sticking it behind a flare, an epoxy or canvas flare. So I'm using glue dots instead of this method. But for this one here, I just wanted to tuck some in behind this flower. So I just added a little bit of Nuvo glue, and then you can see me here using my tweezers and just stuffing it in behind there. I'm going to add a little bit more thread in a couple other spots here just by doing the same kind of method. I just pull a large piece of thread and then just drop it in my hand, kind of twirling it around as I go and just bunching it all together. I like to leave the tails out most of the time at like the top and the bottom. That way I can kind of pull them out and direct them where I want them to go. So that is something that I do with that. But normally I just kind of leave them go wherever they want. Sometimes I'll make them a little bit longer, so there's a little bit more hanging down. Just kind of depends on what I'm doing and what all is on my layout at the time. So I'll add this one more at the bottom here with another flower that I'm going to stuff in here. And then, yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. So this one, I will put down below in the description all of the products that I've used for you in case you want to grab any of those that are still in stock from the Shimmerz shop. I'll also put that link down there for you. Make sure you remember to use my name, Jessica, in the notes of your order to earn that free gift. They'll send it right along with your order. And here is the finished layout. I hope you guys enjoyed this process today and creating with me and my daughter and seeing her creation as well. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.